Uh, and Kamala Harris she got her position because of DEI, in my opinion. And I know you guys differ from that, but in my opinion, that's how she got the position. It was an exact opposition to, and I think I've said this before in the Boomerang, you had an old guy, so they brought in a young woman. You had a white guy, so they brought in a multiracial person. So you had old replaced by young, white replaced or not or buff up against multiracial, and then you had age. So you had an old versus young. Those were offsets, and I would like you to actually understand what I'm saying here. They were offsetting him, and that's why she got the job. So it was very specifically her age, her color, and her ethnicity. Those are the reasons why she got it. In my opinion, that's DEI at work. I don't think politics are usual. I think it's the same garbage we go through every 4 years or whenever the election cycle comes for other offices besides president. It's the same backbiting, scratching, underhanded, nasty way to deal with our country. And I don't care for it. And I'm outspoken about it. As far as Biden leaving office, I don't think it was noble at all. I think he was jammed into a corner. His polls were plummeting. He knew it. The rest of the staff knew it. Kamala knew it. And Obama knew it. And he didn't want to back him because of his failing, not only his failing record, but his failing health and mental stability. So Biden was forced into dropping out of the race. That's my opinion, and I think that's the opinion of most Americans. They saw the decline, mental and physical. She's going to inherit, and these are predictions. William and I spent 65 minutes on the phone yesterday going at each other. So, and please understand that there's nothing that's ever going to get in between William's friendship and mine. Our friendship was way too strong. Do we disagree? Yeah, we do. Do we disagree a lot on certain things? On life in general, we don't disagree at all. But certain things like politics, we do vehemently disagree with each other. So please don't worry about Williams and my friendship. That's never going to go away, I promise. And he knows that, and I know it too. So just the fact that I'm disagreeing politically with him, please don't worry about our friendship. It's solid. It's solid. So I don't know. Was there another question in there, William, you wanted me to attack?
Yeah. Yep. You made the statement that she slept her way to the top. I want some proof.
And
no.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you finish. I want some proof to back up what you're saying. And why would you say such a horrendous thing?
Because it's true. Because it's true. I already sent you the articles. I've multiple times, and you and Dr. Demery both said that Willie Brown is gay. Well, he was married for years. He slept around. He used people, and people used him. Kamala used him to get 2 appointments that were very high dollar paying appointments in order to stair-step her career. She was with Montel Williams for the same reason. She, in her college years, she was known to be the one that slept around. These are all articles you can look up yourself, and I have already sent those articles to you. And you choose not to believe them. So you say that everything that you've got is fact, and everything I've got is not fact. Well, I'm telling you, these things are facts. I already sent them to you. I already sent the articles. I already sent the publications. I already sent you pictures of her with Willie and with Montel and with other men. She stair-stepped her way, and she used people to get to the place she wanted to be for power. And that's my opinion. And I know that all of you probably disagree with it vehemently, and that's okay. But these are my beliefs, and I believe. And I've already sent William 2 things. I sent him 2 predictions. I told him days ago that Obama was going to be forced into
endorsing
Harris, because if he didn't, he was going to start to lose his hand in the Democratic Party. They would start to shun him because the rest of the Democratic Party and the left all wanted Harris. And if he didn't endorse her, he was going to be pushed to the side at least a little bit, not totally. So that was one prediction. Well, guess what happened days later? Exactly that. He endorsed Harris. The other prediction I made to him, and it's not based on emotion or hysterical beliefs, it's based on my perception of life. It's the truth, the evidence and clues lead you to where you need to be. I know Ann, as a prosecutor and a judge, knows that the truth and your perceptions don't matter as much as what you can explain with truth and evidence and clues. The truth and evidence and clues points me, whether I like it or not, that Trump is probably going to be your next president. You may not like it. I don't like it. But I'm just following the truth, the facts, and the evidence. And that's leading me right now, if nothing dramatically changes on one side or the other, as if it plays out exactly how it looks right now, Trump will be the next president in my belief. And again, you guys are all welcome to disagree with them, and I'm fine with that. So please don't hold back. I appreciate your honesty. So
Okay.
if there's, did I cover it all, William?
Yes, you did. And I'm going to let Ann take over and give her opinion on your opinion and probably back it with some facts. And Mike talked about DEI. He talked about she slept her way to the top, which I find offensive. He has no proof of that. Barack was forced to endorse Kamala. Kamala. Hey guys, or you want to call her Kamala or whatever you want to do. It's Kamala. I think it's a beautiful name, Harris. Barack was forced to endorse her. She slept her way to the top in DEI. And my question to you is, and Mike mentioned something that it has been turned into a racial trope. So, my suggestion to my good friend is that if you know that it has been turned into a racial trope, and I'm not doubting that you going on its original definitions. I'm not doubting that. But even with the original definition, please understand something. It doesn't mean you're going to get the job because you are black. That doesn't mean that at all. And you guys conflate the two. I'm trying to tell you.
Was
You
that
know,
the
as a
question for me?
matter of fact, Mike, DEI itself isn't bad. You asked me a question a few weeks ago. Were you a DEI hire, or well, we don't hire because we can't afford to pay anybody. But were you a DEI hire on this radio station? I
He
said,
asked you that?
yeah,
Really?
yeah. And you know what? As a matter of fact, I'm gonna answer this two ways. I didn't think of that, but I thought some more diversity on our station would enhance and improve the product. And I said, hey, I couldn't think of anybody better at that time that I wanted to bring on with my good friend Mike. So, Mike, that could be a form of DEI, but that doesn't mean that you are not qualified to do what you're doing or state what you're staying on here. Okay? You can qualify that as DEI.
Mhm.
I mean, you know, if that's the way you want to go, but I'm going to tell you something else, and I'm going to toss it over to Ann real quick. Look it up and do your research. The companies that adopt and have DEI programs are the most productive in this country. And okay, I want you to DEI slept her way to the top, and Barack was forced to endorse Harris.
Okay. Hey, everybody. Sorry I wasn't here last week. I hope you're all doing
Oh, we
well.
miss you terribly. Oh, your friend. She says she might be listening. She's checking out again this week. Yeah,
I'm going to leave that between you and Big Sister. She
running
could probably
scared.
come and
Yeah,
read
yeah.
you a new one
Oh,
for calling her a
I
chick.
hope I can lure her to coming on. That's what I'm saying. Okay.
Okay. Well, just so long as that's your plan. But first of all, in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion, it is, as William said, it's their new term for their new racist slang, basically,
Yes.
for all things black. It's basically replaced affirmative action. How white people felt about affirmative action is how they feel about DEI, which is like a new name for including people who are not white in the workplace and in other parts of society. They hated affirmative action. There were lots of cases where they use reversed racism to attack affirmative action, to say, well, you're um, uh, basically discriminating against me by being more inclusive of them. They've done that recently against Harvard, and it's the same thing. DEI equals affirmative action equals we don't want black people or Asian people or Hispanic people or Native American people, anybody to have jobs that will make the grass on this side less greener for white people. That's basically what it is. Now, why anybody would be so upset about having to look at their workplace or look at their neighborhood, look at their clubs, and oh, it's not homogenous. It's not all white. It's not all black. It's not all Hispanic. And be upset about that. I don't know. Me personally, I like variety. And I believe the Lord does too, because He made a variety. He made us in a variety of ways. But that's on the person's individual preferences. As far as Kamala Harris and that man that she had an affair with, we've been there and we have done this. First time around, they talked about her having an affair with the man when he was married. Um, we knew that then. We knew she had we knew about that. So this affair's already been hashed. You already told me about this a million times over, Republican Party. I didn't care then that she had an affair with the married man because it wasn't my business. I don't care now that long time ago she had an affair with the married man. That's between her, that man, and his wife. Luckily for Kamala, she survived that. That mess with my man, who knows how that would have ended, but that's their personal business. I don't think she slept her way to the top. And it's really funny to me to hear, the Republican argument that she slept her way to the top through black men. Really? So black men had that much clout, that much power in California, that she slept with the right one and became attorney general of the whole state, that she slept with the right one and became senator. Are you serious? Maybe it's something about California that I don't know, but are the black politicians there so powerful that they can convince everybody in California, at least a majority of them, to vote for certain people? I don't know. I just find that interesting that there are some black people, according to your argument, who have so much influence, so much power, so much whatever you want to call it, je ne sais quoi, that they can convince everybody to vote for this person because in appointed uh she wasn't in an appointed position. She was in a position where people had to vote for her. So I guess I kind of find that a little hard to believe that you have African American men. I mean, because I like Montel Williams. The other guy, he's a California politician, so I didn't know much about him until people started linking him with Kamala Harris. But it's just hard for me to believe that you've got a black person with that much power, that they can convince everybody, or at least the majority of folks, to back this one particular person that they're sleeping with. But okay. And as for President Obama being forced to endorse Kamala Harris, I will say this: I was very disappointed when President Biden backed out, because I truly am upset with a lot of people in the Democratic Party for panicking over something that Trump said. And then President Biden had a bad showing at one debate, just one debate. Don't get me wrong, I saw it. It was hard to watch, but how many times just tonight have I stumbled over words? Have I almost lost my train of thought as we've been talking here right now? So it happens. It happens where you forget what you're going to say and you try to, cover it up. And he made it much, much worse by, just throwing some stuff out there. He should have stopped, said, I lost my train of thought, and gathered his thoughts and started again, which probably would have been a lot better. But they took a bad moment and they just, in my opinion, it was an ageism type of moment. That's just me. And I say that because had they not panicked and said, you told you need to get out of the way, we would still be in the same position we are in now. Let's say everything they were afraid of happened, that President Biden got too old, that he had Parkinson's, that he had Alzheimer's, that he fell down and broke his hip. Everything that they thought or have been claiming would happen have happened. Guess where we would be? Where we are now, with Kamala Harris being the person that's in charge. If the president is unfit, unwilling, unable to serve, guess who would take his place? The vice president of the United States. It was already there, people. You didn't need to move him out of the way and put her there. All you need to do was say, you know what? Yeah, he's old. He was old the first time we voted for him. And guess what? He and Trump were in the same place circle because Trump's just 3 years younger. So if it's a choice between two old white dudes, I choose Biden every day of the week. But anyway, it's over. It's done. I don't know whether or not President Obama felt that he was forced to endorse her. I do believe she was the wise choice because at least everybody knows who she is and everybody's already voted for her once on the Biden-Harris ticket the first time around. So it's a whole lot better than pulling somebody brand new out of thin air and putting them on the ticket and us having to get to know them and figure out if this is somebody that we trust, figure out if it's somebody that we feel is electable. So I think it was just a good decision to endorse Kamala Harris. But as far as Trump winning the presidency, at this particular point, it looks to me like it's up in the air as to which way it could go. Right now, I'm happy to see that Kamala seems to be doing pretty well. But let me just tell you what you can expect from a Trump presidency. According to NPR, and this is an article dated July 27th, 2024, Trump tells Christian voters they won't have to vote anymore if he's elected. Former President Donald Trump struck several familiar notes in his address to Christians at Turning Point Action's Believer Summit in West Palm Beach, Florida. The gathering of religious conservatives Friday night was an opportunity for Trump to appeal to the critical Republican voting bloc. The Republican nominee promised to protect religious freedom and touted his history of supporting the Israeli government. Trump also urged Christians to turn out for him ahead of Election Day, calling it the most important election event. He added that if elected, Christian-related concerns will be fixed, so much so that they would no longer need to be politically engaged. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years. You know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians, he said. Trump also promised to create an anti-Christian bias federal task force, as well as to defund schools pushing critical race theory, transgender insanity, and other inappropriate racial, sexual, and political content onto the lives of our children. Friday night was Trump's second campaign speech since Biden stepped out of the race and endorsed Vice President Harris as a Democratic nominee. At the summit, Trump spent extensive time attacking Harris. If Kamala Harris gets in, she will be the most extreme, radical, liberal president in American history, Trump said. Turning Point Action is the advocacy wing of Turning Point USA, one of the largest national organizations focused on engaging students on conservative issues.
This is true.
So, if you, I don't care if you are Republican, I don't care if you're Christian nationalist, I don't care if you're anti DEI, I don't care if you're centrist. If those words, you will never have to vote again, don't sound anti American to you, don't sound like Trump is a dictator and that he is planning to change this country from one of not just religious freedom, not one of inclusion, not one where immigrants are welcome, but one where you don't even get a say in who is your leader anymore, then you either are not paying attention or some brain cells have died, because those words speak for themselves. I don't know what else. I don't know what else he can say. You can't tell me you won't have to vote anymore. This is America.
It's crazy.
Our foundation is voting. So how is it that we will never, ever, ever have to vote again? That is, I don't care if he's talking about we'll never have to vote for president again, we'll never have to vote for this particular issue again. It's crazy because we all thought that abortion was settled and we would never have to vote about that again. But here we are having to vote about it again some 50 years later. So to say that to any group of people living in this country who love the freedom, the right, the choice to vote should ring all kinds of bells in your head, should make you think there is no way we should let this man get power again, because he means that. Trump doesn't lie all the time. This is one of those times where he is telling you the truth. And I've said it before. When he tells you the crazy stuff that he is going to do, he means that. And if you watch, it plays out. He will do exactly what he said. He means that he's going to fix it, just like he tried to fix it the first time around, so that there would be no more voting. He would be the one and only leader in this country. And the Supreme Court has given him immunity to do whatever he wants to do. I'm not making it up. Newsweek, if you like them, because they're a little bit more, in my opinion, they are a little bit more of a
Neutral.
right-leaning, I'll say right-leaning publication.
Oh.
They wrote an article that says Trump says he'll fire America's military generals and replace them with NASCAR drivers.
Fact.
Because who stood up to Trump the last 4 years? Some generals that he put in place. Not just them, a whole lot of other people, but the generals that he put in place for his little coup didn't go along with it, because even for them it was too extreme. So he is already making moves on what he plans to do. And the Project 2025 garbage that
God.
they have out, that's another thing that's there, and that they want to put in place to make sure that the dictatorship is already laid out before him before we even get to re-election. Because it sounds like there's not going to be another election if we let him have his way. But that's all I want to say.
No, you're right, and matter of fact, you and I haven't talked about this before this broadcast. And I read and confirmed and even heard with my own ears, like Trump on YouTube, or he was on Facebook, or whatever it is. And so a lot of people say, oh, it was taken out of context.
No, it was
not taken out of context. And like Ann said, folks, Republican, Libertarian, okay, Democrats, Independents. What? Okay, well, we'll talk about that later, Valora. Okay, but worse with Trump. Okay, all right. Valora said, I feel either way, we are in trouble if either one is chosen, but worse with Trump. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to agree. Valora, I'm going to agree with you on the last part. And before this show is over, please share with your friends. And I'm going to tell you why. It is not a both sides argument. We're going to debunk that. We're going to tear it apart. There's some language that I want to use, but I'm not going to use. I've been having fun with this, as a matter of fact. And I have to admit, Dr. Dimmer, that going back a week or so ago, it was doom and gloom. I didn't want Biden to drop out. I didn't want anybody to pressure him to back out. But you have to look at it like this. I don't believe that he was pressured to back out. Let me explain to you why. Biden said in the very beginning, he only intended to be a one-term president.
Mm,
Anybody remember that? Anybody remember that? Yes. Well, I got facts. Okay, behind that, he said he only intended to be a one-term president. Then he was going to pass the torch.
mhm,
Okay, with a younger, more paraphrasing, a younger, more progressive uh, party that's going to include people, that's going to look out for everyone. All right. Now, check this out. I agree with you 1,000,000%, and you know that you have to look at things in its entirety, and
mhm.
because we're playing um, and talking about Harris right now. Oh, well, you know what's coming. The next half, we're going to talk about Trump. So, anybody on the panel, I want you, especially you, Mike, and if you have some, or uh, Dr. Demery, your criticisms, I don't care how many there are, about Biden. Then on the other half of that, draw a line down, okay? On the other half, I want you to put your criticisms down about Trump.
Mm.
Okay. That part I'm gonna need about 3, 4 pages. But anyway,
We got a comment from Emma Brown that you should probably read too.
okay. Let's see. I did. I put that up earlier, but I'll put it
Okay.
up again. And let's do this. What does Emma say? Hey, I don't usually talk about or discuss politics. What difference does it make how the vice president got her job? She got it, didn't she, Emma? And so, if what she what if what she's doing now and what she's going to do, it's if she's so different, okay, and not the first in this in history, there are millions of people that hold and have been, Emma, high power positions that didn't work out, desire or earned it. So
Yep.
that is an excellent point. I'm gonna tell you something else, Emma. You are so right on because look at what's been going on, and we can get into this later about when certain people held office throughout centuries.
Well,
How
I
did it work
think
out?
it's
How did it,
hypocritical to talk about her sex life when Trump's had so many different marriages, and he was just found guilty of trying to cover up something, trying to cover up his affair with a porn star to get elected president. So I mean, how is he any better? He's not. If we're gonna talk about their sex lives being a qualification for president, then Trump most definitely is unqualified. Because at least with Kamala Harris, she was dating people. But how many wives has he cheated on? And then not only did he cheat, he tried to hide an affair with a porn star of all people in order to get elected. So my thing is this: if you're gonna talk about this being a problem for Kamala Harris, then why isn't it a problem for Trump? Because he's a man, because he's a white dude, because you like him. I
I've
mean,
got an answer.
why wouldn't that same standard? Because if we're talking about equality, if we're talking about fairness, if we're talking about hiring somebody because they're qualified, and this is a non-qualifying issue, then Trump ain't qualified anymore either. He's already proven that he has broken that particular criteria, so he should be out of the race.
Hmm? Yeah, it might. Yeah, including you even left out rape, And then you also left out Karen McDougal, which she was having an affair around the same time. Remember, she was a Playboy model, Karen McDougal. He also paid her off. And I wish that the prosecution had made a stronger case with her along with Stormy Daniels, okay? Because as a matter of fact, he arranged it to through the Inquirer. I'm trying to think of the head of it
National
again.
Enquirer.
Yeah, the National Enquirer, and he admitted, yeah, he
Him to
paid
kill the story.
money to Karen McDougal, and so that's why Trump didn't have to write a check for that. But they came back to was it? Oh God, it's not Roger. Is it Roger? Okay, the editor in chief or the guy who ran uh, what's that Inquirer, and so they came back to him again to cover up the one for Stormy Daniels. He said, "Hell no,
Mm.
no, I'm not your bank. I am not your bank." So that's two there, and then you have 20 some other women that have accused him of molestation and worse. You talk about the same guy that had the teenage Miss Universe contest, and he said he went back. He was on, and it was him. It was him. Okay, this is way before AI. Okay, and it was him and Howard Stern, and he said, "Oh yeah, well you about allowed to go back there?" He said, "Yeah." He said because since I'm an owner of the pageant, I went back there to inspect it. It's all on tape. He's the
While they were
same.
naked.
Yeah,
True.
he's the same. Hold on, he's the
True.
same guy that said that if his daughter Ivanka wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her. He'd be dating her. He was on a show, and they were asking, "Well, Ivanka, what do you have in common with your dad?" She said, "Oh, either golf or real estate." And she said, "Trump." He said, "Well, I was going to say sex." If anybody wants this fool for your president, have at it. Have at it. Mike, it's your turn. Then we're going to
Well,
Dr. Jimmer.
it's probably Dr. Demery's turn, but I have a very quick statement based on what Ann was saying. I don't have a problem with these politicians being, and I'll use the term that you guys don't like, but liars, cheats, thieves, and whores, because most of them are. I don't personally have an issue with what they do in their bedrooms or not. The reason I brought it up with William is there's a little bit of a difference because I sent him an email recently that talked about Trump's bad behavior, talked about Clinton's bad behavior, talked about the Kennedy brothers' bad behavior. I don't, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't support any of that. It's not. I don't think it's necessary to bring it up because of politics, because that's kind of stuff they do outside of politics, but it still goes to character. And again, just because I say something negative about Harris, it doesn't mean that I'm in turn supporting Trump. So please don't extrapolate that because I am not a Trump fan. Like I said earlier in the broadcast, he's a blowhard. He says lots of dumb stuff. He does lots of dumb stuff. He does evil stuff. And I don't agree with any of it. So please don't pigeonhole me into one side or the other because I'm not. The reason I brought up the situation with Harris, Bill Clinton, Donald Trump, the Kennedy brothers, and all the rest that had affairs. They had those affairs, but they didn't use those affairs to. Oh, we lost William. Holy smokes! They
I
didn't
think
use
he's
those.
still there.
Okay,
He's
think
back.
he's back. He's I'm back. here.
But they didn't. But those people that I just mentioned, plus all the rest, they didn't use sex to climb the ladder, and that's the difference. Trump didn't use sex to climb the ladder. Clinton didn't do it. The Kennedy brothers didn't do it, and all the rest of them didn't do it to climb the ladder. She did, and that I've got a problem with because it circumvents her being qualified. So she's qualified by way of sleeping with somebody and climbing the ladder that way. That's my problem with what she did because it's yes, they all had their indiscretions, but she used her indiscretions to get where she's at. And thank you for letting me chime in. And I know it's Dr. Demery's time.
Okay, yeah, it is Dr. Demery's turn. And Mike, I'm going to say this before I toss it over to Dr. Demery. That is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Most ridiculous thing I ever heard. Because number one, keep in mind, she was never hired. And pointed that out to you a couple of weeks ago. She was never hired. So over eight or close to 800 million people say, "Oh yeah, she's a DEI. We got to let her in." 800 million people voted for that Harris Biden ticket. And
She
let's
was
backtrack a little
selected,
bit.
not hired.
One more, oh, no, it might. I didn't
Selected.
interrupt. Did I interrupt you, Mike?
I know, and I'm trying not to, William, but I
Well,
gotta like
I
jump
think
in there.
you got some duct tape or something like that.
Okay, okay. Look,
Okay.
I just want to point out that I think there are only like 325 million people in the country, so it's not 800 million. I think you mean like
Oh,
80 million.
yeah, 80 million. Thank you for correcting that.
You're welcome.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, 80 million. I'll give you that. Okay. Yes, absolutely. 80 million people. So 80 million people, it says, "Oh, this is DEI." Are you kidding me? Most of the country, look, okay, I'm just going to say this. Everybody know that education in this country right now is at an all-time low. First on when we were going to school. Okay? I I I went to all black schools and I got a great education.
Mhm.
Now, I would have gotten a great education either way, but that's the way, it worked out. I didn't choose to go to a black school. They sent me to a black school. That's fine. And I had great teachers. Okay, great teachers. They taught me some things way back then. They said, "Okay, let me tell you, class, how it is important for you to learn, how absorb this information because it's not going to come back again." All right. And she said, "I'm gonna tell you, years from now, this country is going to full automation." Now there weren't computers then. There were not computers then. She said full automation, meaning that machines are going to take over your jobs or jobs you may have. So I'm imploring you to get down, sit down, and learn. And that stuck with me. That stuck with me because she's exactly right. She predicted that, hey, this entire country, all right. I don't know what she knew at that time, but she saw an evolution coming. Okay. And I said, whoa. And I appreciate that. I appreciate that so much because these are the things that our educators need to let us to tell us. They need to, the education system, let me get back to this, is at an all-time low. And I'm gonna tell you a lot of reasons, and most of the reason has to do with politics.
Mm.
Okay. Project 2025 should scare the hell out of everybody. Because those of you who think that you're going to be protected, even that happens, you're not. I have a concern, and I don't have a lot, but I have a concern that if that criminal gets into the White House, do you know he could shut this program down? Do you know that? I'm just serious about that because
Never
he's going
happened.
after the media, and anybody that insults him, he goes after him. You know that. He's going to replace any federal official that's not loyal to him. He's going to fire them, whether they're doing a good job or not. He's like Ann said, he wants to have NASCAR drivers who
And and
most of them
NFL coaches.
and
That's
NFL coaches, and
right.
most of them got suffer from the concussions anyway. Are
I
you
don't know what
serious
they
right now?
suffer from, but he
What are,
he
what what
says it's the
what
same.
what is the next dumbest thing that he's going to say? Let me shut up 1 second, Dr. Dimry. DEI slept her way to the top. Barack was forced to endorse hers.
Well, let me say this. In church, one of the things I do is let the text speak for itself.
Mm.
Let the evidence speak for itself. The Greek word for belief is pistuo. Pistuo means beyond believing, beyond what your opinions are, It's about allowing the facts to take place. So here is my proposition to everyone. Mike, William, and whoever else is listening. Well, I can't remember what that lady's name was that was giving me.
Valora Brand and Emma Brown
Yeah.
so far on just on
Dr.
this
Sims, whoever else is
show.
listening.
Yeah.
You've got one of three choices. Either you vote for Trump, which we know who some people are going to vote for him. You vote for Harris, which we know some people are going to vote, or you don't vote. Those are your three choices. You can talk about, well, I don't want to do this and I don't want to do that. I hate that I'm in the position. Bull crap.
Mm.
You've got one of three choices. Either you vote for Trump, you vote for Harris, or you don't vote. Well, as I've said before, I know this may sound a little dichotomy in terms of what racial issues are. Black people ought to be whipped if they do not vote. They need to be taken out and horsewhipped. All the stuff that we've gone through to get the right to vote. Oh my gosh. So you've got those three choices. Those three choices and those three choices alone. You can disagree with me however you want, but you got those three choices. Either you don't vote, either you vote for one of these two, or, like I said, doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican or independent or Indian chief or whatever you are.
Right.
You've got to vote or you don't vote, and that's simple as that. And so, what it comes down to is, I think, the fact that I am just really saddened by the fact that this country is so divided. I'm
Mhm.
saddened by the fact that we have come to the point where there's name calling, there is bitter indictments, there's falsities, there's extortions of what the facts really are, and it's really sad. It's really sad, and it is a shame and a mockery what we have
Yeah.
made of American politics. It is a bloody shame. And I want to say this, and then I'll be done. I'll be brief. I'm not gonna ramble on like you guys did. Let's consider one thing, as I said before. Let's consider one thing, because you guys just ramble on. Well,
Rambo.
and reading the facts, but you guys are just rambling on. You change subjects, you switch thoughts, and all this other kind of stuff. But here is one thing to consider. We have to realize the fact that this country is so divided, it's so separated by race, and from the beginning in 1776. This country has always been based about race. I mean, let's look at it. That's the way that it is. So we have to deal with the problem as it exists. This country is a racially divided country. Now, there's some that, like Mike maybe and some others, that may be more independently looking at the situation from a basic plane of view. But when you weigh everything out and you look at it, you've got to realize the fact that whatever you do is going to be based on circumstances that you make. You
Okay.
know, and so that's all I have to say at this point.
That's fine. Now I'm
William,
gonna
can I add one little thing before you go on? I just want to say one quick thing. Reverend Demery is right about how racially divided it is. It's to the point where people are literally afraid. I just found out last week that my cousin, who practices Islam, has moved his entire family out of the United States to Morocco
Oh
because
wow!
he needed to get peace for himself and his family.
Right.
Mhm.
Can you imagine leaving the United States for another country so that you could feel safer?
Yeah,
So that you can feel
that's amazing.
that you have the right to practice your religion without being persecuted for it. This is the country of religious freedom. that isn't even supposed to be an issue. But you have people here who are so afraid that they are leaving because they're afraid of being killed by because of the color of their skin if they're pulled over, or if they call the police to their homes because they're having an issue and the police end up shooting them. This is serious business. the I
Mm-hmm.
can and I can't stress enough
Mm-hmm.
how much I guess it may not affect those who are white the same way it affects the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to the rhetoric that's coming from these people,
Mm-hmm.
and they're talking about making America great again, and we're talking about, for them, Wild Wild West days. They're looking at,
It's crazy.
you know what I'm saying. They're looking at covered wagon days like those were good times. When you have vigilante justice, and when that kind of stuff is enough for people who are black, people who are Asian, people who are Native American, to sit up and listen, because we already know what that means. It's not making America great again. It's making things very, very difficult for everybody who does not look like them again. So, and I don't think that's the case with every white person. Please don't think that's what I'm saying, because I've seen, especially online, a lot of white people who are saying vote Democrat all the way down. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of white people
Mm-hmm.
who are very, very anti-Trump.
Mm-hmm.
But these other people, like, for instance, the first time Trump was in office and they were yelling for Obamacare to be taken away,
Mm-hmm.
and come to find out they're the ones who need it the most. And then saying, well, if they do get rid of it, I'll still vote for them. Why would you still vote for somebody who is doing all kinds of things that negatively impact you, because you want the hope of getting to a place where, I guess, your status your white privilege is protected, and everybody else is considered a second class citizen? It truly does in encompass more than just politics. You have politics, you have race, you have religion, you
Mm-hmm.
even have educational issues. This is not, you gun rights. This is affecting so many different aspects of life. And I don't think people really understand just how serious it is. Otherwise, we wouldn't have cared if Biden dropped dead. You know what I'm saying? If
Right.
we wouldn't have cared if he dropped dead while he was taking the oath, because it's already secured who's gonna be there to take his place. I
Mm-hmm.
I, I just don't see the point. There
Right.
there are two options, and he was the best one. But I'm done. That's all I'm gonna say.
That you did fine. You did fine. And see, I'm gonna tell you, there are people that's going to ignore what you say, and they're going to believe whatever they want to believe. But I'm gonna just tell you, personally, you guys already know Mike and I, we fight all the time on air, especially on the Boomerang Radio Show. Okay, and he's my friend. I know he's not a racist from on many areas, many areas. And the kicker is, he's also a client of mine. Do you think a racist white man will give me his money? you know, no, I know that, but that's why I don't understand. I think Mike. I said, okay, my buddy Mike. I know how he is on certain levels, but before I go there, let me make a point. Let me stop back,
Mhm.
and I'm gonna call out my brother, Dr. Rudolph Demery, which I love dearly. I'm gonna push back, Dr. Demery. We were not rambling. We were, no,
Well,
no, no, because and you may or may not have been paying attention when I opened up. I asked the question, Mike, we're going to talk about these three things here. DEI slept her way to the top, and Barack was two. was pressured to endorse, and we stuck around those topics there, Dr. Demery.
I think he was making a joke, William.
No, well, he ain't laughing. I didn't laugh either.
I laughed.
Well, oh
It
God,
was funny.
you guys have a funny sense of humor. Okay, but anyway, no. But what I'm saying is, we're not rambling. I'm trying to make a point. Mike is trying to make his point. Ann is trying to make their point. I don't ramble. Okay. Now let me get back to something. Ann made and laid out some valid points. Some valid points there. And you have to understand, and that's why when you guys, and not you, I'm not saying you, Mike, uh, but you tend to believe that stuff. Okay. CRT, DEI, affirmative action. What is wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Because you know that the playing fields were not level. If I can't get in the guy's office to interview for the job, how in the hell am I gonna get it?
True.
Exactly.
True.
Exactly.
I agree.
Makes no sense. And Kamala Harris, Mike, DEI hired when she wasn't hired in the first place. Can we
She was
please just?
selected. I've said selected a
How
number of
did she
times
get
now,
elected,
not
Mike?
hired.
How did she get
Selected.
elected?
She because she was selected to offset Biden, and I explained that at the top of the show.
No, 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 no. Well, she was elected as her vice president. Okay, she was elected as his vice president, and so there was some mentioning that. Well, what has she done? Okay, I don't see her out there. I don't see her doing it. Number one, you don't have no idea. If you've been paying attention, you would know what she has done. She was not the border czar. Biden had never declared her the border czar. He
Yes, he
sent
did.
her. No, he did
Yes, he
not.
did.
He did not. Mike, I've got some. Look, I've got so many doggone clips up here that I haven't even played yet. I'm not going to put that one up. No, he did not. I've heard. I read
I
it.
respectfully
No, he did
disagree
not.
because
She was not
I've
the
seen.
border czar. She was not the border czar. She was told to go down to 3 South American countries and see if she could shore up something there as far as stopping the influx. Now, do you know that today the border crossings are down 55%? Do you also know that they just busted 2 days ago, if not yesterday, and you may know about this, two kingpins in the cartel that were
Yeah.
controlling the fentanyl traffic down there?
Mm.
Did you know that?
I heard about it. Seems didn't somebody turn themselves in or something? It was
I
crazy.
don't know who turned me. I know they got the top guys, some of the two of the top guys.
Right.
Okay,
Somebody's son
I
seemed
know
like.
they've confiscated more fentanyl coming over the border than any other anybody else. Trump certainly didn't. Okay, and the people that are going through, they are not piling through the border. Biden put a $2,500 people list. I mean, limit on that. You know, it's just complaint after complaint. My question to everybody on this board, I'm gonna switch subjects real quick right now.
Hmm.
What would you do? Okay, when you got as president of the United States, and you're hit from all angles. Okay, and you have to say, okay, we're going to work on this. We're going to work on this. Or do you want a president that's going to say, I'm going to work on this. We've got some things we need to do. We need to work on it. And I take responsibility because it's his watch. Versus somebody says, I don't take responsibility for anything. So anyway, I'm going to go back to Dr. Demery. Look like you were on, and maybe you had something to say.
Well, I mean, my comment was this, and I didn't mean to make it seem like you guys are rambling, but when you change the subject right in the middle of your thought process, that is one of the definitions of rambling. So let me say this. I think that we, as I said before, and I'm going to say it again, um, in a church, iglesia, es su iglesia. Iglesia is the Spanish word for church. If my church was as divided as this country is, I would quit tomorrow.
I don't
Mm,
blame you.
I would
mm,
quit tomorrow.
mm,
We have got to come together and get to the point where we can say, I agree to disagree. And if you have issues with a particular candidate or what they have done or what they haven't done, I mean, do it in a fashion where you don't have to bash the person, you don't have to characterize them as a demon. You know, well, maybe
right.
some of them are demons. I would say to a certain extent. I almost
Yes,
have
they
to take
are.
that back. But I would say that we have to get to the point where you weigh out who's going to be best for the country and
Mm,
who's not going to be best for the. And that goes back to what I said before. You got three choices: either you don't vote, or either you vote one way, or you vote or the other. Three choices is all you got.
I
Three
agree.
choices is all you got.
I agree. What I'm the thing that I am saying, Dr. Demery, like I said, I laid out three different things that I wanted to cover, and we were in those parameters. Okay, Mike is explaining his point, Ann was explaining hers. I'm explaining mine. But there are certain things, even TV, radio, or media, or whether it's tablet or written, whatever it is, some things need to be repeated because people, you know what? You tell them something one time, and you ask them a while later, they don't remember what you were talking about. That was a little experiment we used to do one time, and we would take an 8 by 11 sheet of paper and fold it in half, and say, "Hey, do you know what you're going to remember tomorrow? You're going to remember half of what I said."
mm.
Next day, fold it into a quarter. Okay, you're going to remember maybe 25% of what I said. Take it a week later, you don't remember a doggone thing. So sometimes you have to, we have to be redundant. So I want to stick on topic because, in my opinion, this is the most important election of the year. And I want to point out each candidate because people have a right to know, and people that listen to this show, they may or may not be into politics. They may not look at the news. They may not know what's going on. There are a large group of people in this country that don't watch TV. You got a large group of people, they would rather read a book. And then you take the other part, there are certain people that won't watch the news because it's so depressing.
It
I
is
mean,
here lately.
yeah, you turn on, I don't care whether it is or Fox. Good Lord. And I'm going to say this, and I don't think I'm being biased in saying this. It is the worst news network that has the most viewers in the country. I'm gonna tell you why they're the worst. Because they lie.
Mm,
They lie. Now, other networks lie too. But guess what? They haven't gotten sued for over $785 million,
right.
and then got more lawsuits coming up. So apparently their lies didn't meet the threshold, to criminal. Okay, and they were smart enough. So if you're getting your news from Fox, God, I pray for you. I really pray for you. Tucker Carlson, who they had to fire. Okay, you got what's that clown on there now? Oh my goodness! I mean, he's always been there. Come on, help me out a little bit.
I
Uh,
don't deal with them. I don't know.
yeah, hey, Mike, you can help me out. Who's some of those leaders on Fox? Tucker Carlson's gone.
We got Tucker, yeah. I don't know. You got Greg Gutfeld. He shows up.
Yeah.
Gosh, who's the what? Charlie Kirk.
No, he's not on there. Judge Perino, Judge,
Oh
that
yeah,
judge is on there, and
Judge
you got
Judge
and the host
Janine.
Janine Pirro on there, and the guy that took over Tucker's show. I know you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, what I'm saying is
Mm,
they never, ever, ever tell the truth. Okay.
Oh, not like CNN and NBC. That
No,
always
it's
try-
not. Well,
always those they always tell the truth,
no,
right?
no, 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 no. No, I didn't say that.
Please,
No, don't be sarcastic
please.
now because I didn't say that, Mike. Come on, come on.
Gish
I
Golem,
have to be
Gish Golem.
sarcastic with you sometimes
I,
to
There you
drive my
go,
point
Gish
home.
Golem. Go look up what the
what does that
definition
mean?
of
What
Gish Golem
does
is.
that word mean,
It means
Doctor?
I'm interrupting you and I'm being rude, is what he's saying.
That's what Gish Golem is. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's show a little decorum here, Mike.
And by the way, Dr. Demery, I do ramble on. I'm in agreement with you. I do ramble.
Oh,
But
so
it's not a matter of rambling. Look up the definition of Gish Golem, and you'll understand what I'm talking about.
Well,
I try not to interrupt William or
okay,
anyone here on the
well, let's
panel,
do this.
but
I tell you what.
sometimes I gotta get a point in there. So I try
Yeah.
to not make it a long point. But yeah, I do
And
ramble.
Mike,
and I
it's
jump in.
okay. Hey, buddy, it's okay to be wrong.
Forgive
I
me.
love you anyway. All right. Anyway, let's check this out. I'm gonna switch it all the way up. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, President. What did I want? I had some clips. I have more clips than I have. Oh God, I can't do it. But anyway, let's do this. All right. I think this would shock all of you.
All of America really wants you to believe that they are pro-veteran. But Republicans act as if they are the party of patriotism. The party of patriotism, even though they show up and act and support a man who wants to do away with the Constitution, who wants to be a dictator on day one, who believes the American Constitution should be thrown away if it stands in the way of him continuing to hold power, even if he lost an election.
Sir, do you need to apologize to service members and veterans?
No, it was a fake story written by a magazine that was probably not going to be around much longer.
The president responding to the Atlantic report that he rejected a 2018 trip to an American cemetery in France, saying, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers," and calling the Marines buried there suckers for getting killed.
Here is my question to the group. Is it savable? I mean, why not abolish the VA, take all of the money that we are otherwise spending and go to any willing provider system within our communities, and then if people get bad care, they can vote with their feet, and you don't have a two-tier system of healthcare in this country with our veterans and with everyone else.
This is Project 2025. This is what they want to do for veterans. Eliminate disability compensation. They'll save them that much. Eliminate a huge portion of veterans getting care at the VA. Narrow eligibility so less veterans have access. Put a 10-year time limit. So if you don't get access to the VA in the 10 years after you get out, you never will. Republicans, conservatives hate veterans.
Now they went a step further and done something that is absolutely disgusting. Donald Trump's campaign and also the Republican National Committee are suing Michigan. Ask me for what? Michigan is being sued for allowing veterans to register at the Veteran Affairs offices.
From this day forward, I better not see a Republican at all say, "I support the troops," because your figurehead is suing Veteran Affairs for registering us to vote, as well as designate Veteran Affairs offices, some of them, as voting places. And don't forget, your guy hates people like me. 100% permanent total disabled combat vets. We're losers and suckers. If you truly support troops, you're going to go to vote.gov, register to vote, and make sure you're voting blue this election.
That's right. Veterans being allowed to register to vote upsets the Trump campaign and the Republican National Committee. Upset to the point that they filed a lawsuit saying that these people should not be able to vote at Veteran Affairs and should not be able to register there. Let that sink in for a moment. How is that supporting veterans? How is that looking out for veterans' best interests? Going to a place that is trusted and secure, and Republicans still got a problem with it. They had a problem with ballot boxes until they realized that it's an old tactic, being able to mail in and drop off ballots in America. It's not a new tactic, and it's secure. So now they don't even want you to vote if you are a veteran at Veteran Affairs. Think about that. Think about that. You care so much about veterans, you are suing the Veterans Affairs because of what? They're providing a service that should be a constitutional right, that you should already be, the minute you turn 18 in America, you should automatically be registered to vote. You shouldn't have to register anywhere. And damn right, it should be easy for veterans to access the ballot and turn it in. And if they got to go to the Veterans Association or Affairs Office for medical appointments and other issues, then why can't they drop off their ballot there? It's a federal office. Because Donald Trump don't really believe. Republicans don't really believe. The Trump campaign don't really believe that they are the party of veterans. They are the party of racists without a platform. What is their plan for healthcare? Have you seen it? Have you heard it? All you hear is grievances.
Mm-hmm.
What is their plan for the education system? Have you seen it? Have you heard it? All they have is grievances. They want to ban books. They want to do away with the Department of Education. They want to appeal Obamacare. They don't have plans. They have racism, and they have cult-like behavior. They have anti-American behavior, isolationists. They want to do away with our partners in other countries. They are extreme, not some of them, all of them. To support this Republican Party in this form as they follow Trump over the edge is absolutely ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. One day they're calling for civil war. The next they're suing the Veterans Association or Affairs Office for allowing veterans to register to vote. This is not patriotism. This is disgusting. I'm Mundell Robinson. Don't be disgusting.
Dr. Demery. Dr.
Yes, sir.
Demery.
Yes, sir.
Wow. As a veteran, I think I shared this story with you. And I'm looking at the unpatriotic thing that these people are doing to the patriots that serve the country, our veterans. There shouldn't be a homeless veteran on the street. There should not be a homeless veteran on the street. Yet the homeless people among the veterans population, I don't know what that is, but it's way too high.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Dr. Dimmer, where you are in a fortunate position because you go to a VA and they take good care of you. But you know what? That's not across the board the way it is in some other states or some other counties in California, and on and on and on. Mike told you a story about his wife being working at the Veterans Affairs, and she was despondent. That's not the word he used, and it wasn't a bad word, whatever he used, but I'm just using the word despondent, so I'm paraphrasing, on how the place was being run, the care that the veterans were getting. So now you want to sue the veterans for voting at what was it? What did he say before? What was that place?
They were using the
Veterans
video.
Administration to register to
To
vote.
register. Now that has been normal in the past, right, Dr. Demery?
Yeah, it's something that's quite frequently done. I mean, I did it myself. I registered there because, like the guy was saying in the video, it's an easy, convenient way. And if you already have an appointment or you have business at the
Oh,
VA, you can get everything done. They
There.
do my taxes. I get a passport. Anything that I want, I can get done right there. At the VA, they do everything for you, basically.
that is amazing.
Yeah, and
I
it's
love it.
and it should be like that.
It
Should
should
be
be
for
like
them.
that.
They
Exactly.
deserve that.
And thing about it is, I did a show. Oh, let me give a plug for that one. That's on Tuesdays. It's called Groove Talk Radio. And that's when I get together with my brothers and my sisters that's on the panel, Grooves and Swings. And then we interview or we have conversations with Black professionals all over the country that are intertwined, members directly or indirectly with our organization. And we also have outside guests to come in as well. So it's been a fun thing because we want to be just opposite of mainstream media, where the doom and gloom sells the papers. And perhaps that's why we haven't sold as many as we want, because we don't want to focus on the positive,
Mhm.
the cultural positive in life.
Mhm.
I mean, we have so much in our culture. Now, there are other cultures that have equal, or I mean, perhaps equal riches in for some form or another. Okay, but we won't know and have all of that knowledge. You remember the great Dr. Dimmer say I'm rambling here, but I'm going to say this: the Great Wall of China.
Mhm.
China at one time back, going back, Dr. Dimmer, you know this better than I do. You know this history. We going back to the 1900s or what? I mean, whatever it is. And they had built their wall around China because they felt they were the smartest people in the world. They thought they were the smartest people in the world, right? And remember, that's why they put the wall up.
Mhm.
Okay. They didn't want their brilliance to get out to the world.
Mhm.
But guess, they did not get the brilliance that the world had to offer them.
Mhm.
Okay. Dr. Jimmy, am I on point there?
Well, yeah, I mean that was one of the issues. The other main issue was to keep the Mongols out. They didn't want to fight the Mongols because they had one of the most fiercest armies at the time. But like you said before, and I'm just going to be honest. I am frightened to death. I am frightened to death if Trump gets in office because he's going to take many of our benefits away. And once again, I am not easily offended, but I was offended when he made those comments about the Marine Corps. I spent
Mhm.
half my career with the Marines. I spent, and as Mike was saying before, which was, I don't think that was true, I was in the Navy with Montel Williams. I knew Montel Williams on a personal basis. We used to
Wow.
go to the gym together. We were on the same ship together. He was an
Mhm.
intel officer, and I was a chaplain. And we used to get together because at the time when I think it's changed a little bit, the Navy was one of the most racist
Mhm.
branches of the military, and me and
Mhm.
Montel would get together because he had nobody else he could go talk to but
Mhm.
me. He could come and talk to the chaplain and know that whatever I told, whatever we discussed, would not get told and not spread all throughout the ship, and his career could be jeopardized. So I know Montel Williams on a personal basis. A
Mhm.
personal basis. I get him many times. We went out to lunch. We used to go to the gym together and work out. I know him very well. Well, it's been a few years, but I mean, we were in the Navy together, and I know him very well.
Mhm.
But the point is, I am frightened to death by this possibility of an administration that will come in and literally ruin VA rights. I mean, come on, a place where you can't go register to vote? That's insane. I mean, I can't even, when I heard that, I almost couldn't believe it. I thought I
Mhm.
was in Tsarist Russia or someplace.
Right.
I thought I was standing under the Kremlin or something.
I think I sent it to you earlier this week, didn't I?
Yeah, I got it. It was literally horrifying. And I can tell you, for most vets that I know, would be literally horrified at that. I mean, it is a horrifying possibility to think that they would take those kind of rights away. And like I said before, the statements that were made against veterans and the people who gave their lives for this country, and for him to make a statement like that is literally horrifying. You
It
know,
is.
He
It is.
said it about John McCain to John McCain's face.
I
That
know it.
John
Yeah, I
McCain
know it.
was, yeah, that he was a loser because he was taken captive. Are you
Right.
Mhm.
kidding me?
It was a POW.
Really?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And guess what? He said, I don't like people who weren't captured. Well,
Right.
look at Captain Bone Spurs. You didn't even go. You don't. You didn't put yourself in position to be parent. And I don't know. We talked about this before, Mike and I, because the way you talk about your dad and your mom, it is admirable. And I know your brother Warren, and so I can tell there was a lot of love in that family. But also, um, I know you probably were the hardest one to keep in you know, keep out of trouble.
are you trying to
Wait,
say
did you
there,
say that?
William?
Yeah,
Wait a second
because
here. You know,
we've had
I
conversations.
got feelings, you know.
You know what? Because we have talked off air, and I'm not going to share those stories, Mike. I'm just saying. I'm just saying that you
No,
were probably the hardest.
we don't talk off air. I get lectured off air by William.
I don't lecture you.
Well,
I don't know. You say your opinion, I say mine. It is no lecture. It's just that what you're admitting to, I make more sense, huh? Go ahead and
oh
go
my
ahead.
word. Oh my
Go ahead.
word. I will say this. Let me just
My
jump
headache's
in.
coming back.
I think when you consider where polling places are. I remember when
Oh,
I was
yeah.
in college that I led a voter registration drive on campus for my sorority. Um,
Okay.
there are lots of places that we go. Like for early voting, I usually go to a library, but there are
Mhm.
churches where you can vote.
Oh,
There are
yeah.
places all over where you can not only register to vote, but where you can actually go to the polls and vote. So
Hmm.
to say that the VA, where you have people who have some serious disabilities because they fought for this country, are not able or not allowed to go to those places. They got to figure out this obscure place. Because I mean, in my neighborhood, we moved almost 2 years ago. I know that I've been told where to go to vote. I've never been there and don't have any desire to. I'm probably gonna go vote where I usually vote, which is close to where I work, and it's an early voting place at a library, not too far from where I work.
Right.
I do it every time. So why shouldn't people who have disabilities who are going to be at the VA? And my dad used to go to the VA when
Mhm.
I was a little girl. You sit there a long time. So if you have to wait anyway to get things done, why not make it convenient for them to do everything else that they need to do?
Mhm.
That's just a courtesy that we should continue to extend to our veterans. They deserve that. They they've sacrificed a whole lot on behalf of everybody else, and you want to make it, especially and especially you want to make it so that you curb these privileges that you've given them right after you decide, oh, we're a little light on people signing up for military service, so we need to make it mandatory. So you want to make more people sign up for the military, but at the same time, you want to reduce the number of privileges that they get.
That is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's
That,
crazy.
I did a show a few weeks back, Mike. I'm not sure you listened to the show or not, but I don't think you and Dr. Demery did. And we would talk about veterans. Oh, Dr. Demery, veterans and veterans affairs. You were on that show, right?
Yes, I was there.
Oh my God, that was one of the highest rated and one of the best shows ever. Coming back,
Benefits and all that kind of stuff. We discussed all that.
coming back in August because I've already committed to having a Veterans Day. Is that November the 11th?
Somewhere
I
around in
think
there.
it
That
is.
sounds about
Yeah.
right.
I think, yeah. Okay. So I had committed to doing a show, Mike and Ann, on November the 11th for Veterans Day. But with Dr. Demery and the panel we had, it was just an amazing and real because we're talking about exactly what we talk about now. Our veterans. Okay, many of us haven't served. I've never served in the military. I have three brothers, a cousin. My granddaughter's in well, is she in the world now? I don't know. Carrying around a gun bigger than she is. She's okay. I have and she's going up for sergeant, and I have a nephew that is a captain in the army. Boy, Marcus, I love you. Miracle, I love you, girl. Okay, stay safe, stay safe. Okay, and so my point is, Mike, why in the world would you like? And then Dr. Dimmer said that was a right for them to be able to do that before. Mike, you say you love the military. Why in the world would you do something like that?
Well, I think I've spoke about this on the Boomerang before. My former wife was at the VA for, gosh, until she got sick. She was there for probably close to 20 years, and she would
Wow.
come home. She would come home crying because and she was at the one here in Loma Linda, which maybe Dr. Demery goes to. I don't know, but I see him shaking his head. Yes, yes. But she would come home crying because she didn't feel that the servicemen got the respect and the medical care that they truly deserved, and it bothered her a great deal. And I mean, it wasn't every day that she'd come home and cry, but I mean, she would. You could see it on her face that she was just devastated because she was used to doing proper medical care as a nurse, and she just felt she couldn't do her job because they would run these veterans through there like a cattle call. They'd get there at 8 in the morning, and they might get seen by 3 in the afternoon, and that's just unacceptable as could be to me. And I offered a couple of times to go down there and like shake the tree, but she told me no. I know how you are, Mike. No, leave it alone. So I didn't, out of respect for her. And Loma Linda used to be one of the highest rated VAs in the nation. Wow. And they are now at almost the bottom as far as rating as medical care and such. So yeah, I know it's not right. It's definitely wrong. And anybody wants to take away things from the veterans, which they really don't get what I think they deserve. And again, both my parents were World War II veterans, and they never abused the system. But to take away anything from these vets currently would just be horrendous, in my opinion.
Okay. Hey, Mike, I tell you, and I appreciate that too, because your dad was a retired colonel. And from everything that you told me about him, he's just a great, great guy. And you can't speak. I don't know. You could speak for him better than you can. But in your own words, how would your dad feel about someone's taking away that right for him to go to like a Veterans Administration office or something like that, and you say you can no longer vote here? You got to go somewhere else. What would his stance? You already know. What would his stance be?
Yeah, his question would be why? Why not? Why not?
Right.
What's it hurting? It's a piece of paper. You fill it out. You ID yourself and make sure that you're allowed to vote and such. It's such a simple thing to accomplish. Why would you wish to take it away? It's not like it's a big laborious thing that's going to take you 30 minutes to do. It's not. You fill out the paper, you submit it, you're all good. So yeah. Oh, and Dad, by the way, my dad was about 5'8" and had a pot belly and loved to laugh. My dad, and he had arms like Popeye. He could lift a motor up by himself. I mean, he was a strong man. He was a strong man, mentally.
You didn't mess around, did you, Mike?
No, not with Colonel Ward in the house. And even though he loved to laugh and have a good time, and my mother was kind of the serious one, and my dad was always the funny one. If you got a burn to my dad's saddle and something like this happened, he'd be down there raising holy hell. And I think I've got a great deal of my father in me, because when I see injustice, I see red. And I go for that wall, and I'll burst through that wall, and I'll fight that injustice. So I hope you guys know my heart in that way.
I know your heart.
I know what's fair. I know what's not fair. I know what's right. I know what's wrong. I know what's good, and I know what's evil. And that was taught to me by both of my parents. And to this day, as old as I am, I still will fight for things like that. So yeah, I have no problem shaking the tree. You may not like it, but I'll shake that tree.
And and that's what I love about you too. And so the thing about it, hey guys, Mike and I, we go after. As a matter of fact, Emma wrote something else. Let me put it up on the screen right here.
I like what she said. Thanks, Emma.
You and Mad Mike should not discuss politics.
I agree with you, Emma.
No, why would you agree? Why would you agree? Hey, Ann, please understand the dynamic, and I know you do, because you're brilliant in your broadcasting, and and I tell you what, I remember when your first day to right now. There's I believe that you may have been a little bit nervous when you first broadcast, but that was like 7-8 years ago.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Okay. And then all of a sudden, Mike, she just like shot out of a cannon. It was
Well, she's good at what she does. That's
she's
why.
a short
Oh,
learner.
thank
Oh,
you.
yes, she is. Yes, she
Thank
is.
y'all.
That's my friend. That is my friend. And so, what was I going before I got off on this?
I don't know, but what I will say is, and I apologize, y'all. My screen is frozen on
Yeah, it's green.
a really ugly photo of me. That, and I just refuse to have that
Oh,
that continue.
leave it as it is until you call Andre.
Well, he left to go get my mother for me from my
You know
sister's
I'm
house.
teasing. You know I'm teasing you.
But I truly do think that it's just another voter suppression tactic
Uh-huh.
because it's
Of
easier
course.
to make it um, to suppress the votes of people that they feel will not vote
That makes
Republican
sense.
if they make it harder for them to vote. And they've been doing that all over the country. Ever since
Crazy.
Trump lost the last election, they've done all passed all kinds of laws in different states, including Georgia, where we had one of the biggest issues with Trump trying to steal the election. They've been passing laws to make it more difficult for those who they think will not be voting Republican, making it much more difficult for them to vote.
Can you
That's
give
right.
an
And given what he
example, Ann?
said about, huh?
Can you give
I'm
an
so
example somewhere along the way? I'm actually ignorant about this, so please. Can
okay.
you? How are they going about this to make it difficult for anybody to vote?
Okay. Let me do a real quick Google search so I can give you
Go and do your
specific.
Google. And one thing, while Ann is doing her Google thing, Mike, let's start with what we're talking about. They are suing the Veterans Administration. That is one case of them trying to suppress voters. Okay, that's one. Then you have gerrymandering. Okay, and I know this to be a real thing where you have where it was maybe been a larger group of black or Hispanic people, whatever it is, they would cut that district, okay, and push them in a whole nother district. So they have divided the vote. You got so many different things. And the guys want
I'm
to talk.
aware of that. I'm aware of that. Where they're
Okay.
like they're
Gerrymandering is
redistricting
wrong. It
different
is wrong. I'm gonna tell you something here. Right here in Richmond, Virginia, they put a whole freeway in part of the town, and it was whole. Uh, it's all divide and conquer, Mike.
yeah wrong side of the tracks kind of thing.
Yeah, but let's get back to what Ann. Let's get back to Ann, and let's get back to this because I know how you feel about it. I know, Dr. Dimmer, how you feel about it, and I haven't been in the military, uh, but and I knew that I was going to be drafted at that time. But something came about called a lottery or whatever it is, and I was never selected. I had registered, everything like that, and if I had gone, I would have gone into the Air Force. So anyway, long story short, and I think the Vietnam War was about to conclude or whatever it is. I don't know. And so I said, hell. And guys were coming back after experiencing something called Agent Orange. You guys remember that? And it's too
Yep.
young to remember that.
I am not too young to remember that because my father, when he died, we found his information, and come to find out he was granted full disability because he was exposed to Agent Orange. And if you if you ever saw a photo of my father, he would look
Uh,
like he was my skin tone, his
uh,
face and his arms. But if he removed his shirt, my father was a very light skinned man.
mm,
And so he had, and that was from exposure to Agent Orange, and he had
oh,
several heart attacks. And so at first they were trying to tell us when we would go visit him that he had heart attacks because he smoked, but then on his death we figured out from the information that all the stuff that had happened to him, yeah, he was a smoker, but most of it was due to Agent Orange
Agent
issues that
Orange.
he was having. So yeah, I'm not too young.
Wow.
It took my dad away from me. So
Oh, darling, I had no idea. You and I
yeah,
have never discussed this before.
yeah.
But I'm so glad that you experienced and shared that story with us. I'm gonna go to Dr. Demery because he was nodding his head the entire time. Dr. Demery, I want you to expound on anything that Ann said or anything that you heard that made you start. Yeah, okay.
Well,
Please.
what Ann was saying is so true. I mean, I have been around. There's fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your point of view, there's very few Agent Orange veterans left because a lot of those guys are in their 70s, some 80s, and some have made it that far because the Agent Orange killed them. Agent Orange was a chemical that was
Yes, he
sprayed
was.
by Huey helicopters to kill vegetation, and
Mhm.
then the troops would come in behind after they sprayed that stuff, and it would get on their skin. It causes cancer. It causes the skin discoloration, like Ann
Mhm.
said. And if you've
Mhm.
ever seen it, I've seen some of them before. If you've ever seen a vet with Agent Orange reaction, it's horrifying. It's nearly as bad as seeing
Wow.
someone who had napalm dropped on it. And everybody knows what napalm is. Napalm is
Wow.
basically gelatinized gasoline, and it ignites like crazy, and that stuff gets on you. It's like jello, and you can't get it off, and it just burns you to
Yeah.
death. So the
Good.
point being is that I think, once again, to reiterate, I know I'm repeating myself, and maybe I'm rambling,
Repeat
but
it. No,
to
you're
to
doing fine. No,
to
seriously.
to to consider the fact that vets cannot go to the VA and get certain kinds of things done, to me is horrifying. Because when I go there, yeah, sometimes I have an appointment and I don't have anything else to do. Usually when I go, I do two or three different things. You know, I volunteer at the chaplain's office. I'll go by the VA store because you don't have to
See,
pay taxes. And I'll do my appointment. And sometimes if I have other issues that I need to deal with, social worker, my benefits or whatnot, is to me, that's just terrible. And then the other thing for a lot of vets, and Ann knows this, and Mike, you probably know this, maybe possibly with your father, transportation there is free. You know, I can jump on the bus and it'll take me right there to the VA office, drop me right off, get back on the bus, and come right back home. And it's
see?
free. Transportation is free. And that is a big thing with seniors. And Mike, you're still a bit too young. You don't know about being a senior
No,
yet.
he's old.
But
My,
yeah,
my,
he ain't that old. He's not old as me. But the point being is that transportation is a big issue for
man.
veterans, and particularly those who are disabled, because I'm almost at the point where I'm not going to really be able to drive anymore because of my disabilities. So transportation is essential, and to be able to get to the point where you can't get to services that you need and have deserved and have the right to get is horrifying. Last thing, Mike, you wanted a really quick example of voter suppression. What some
Please.
of the voter suppression is done, and I know it's probably going to give us some more information and more detail that I'm giving. There was a story of this 86-year-old black lady that wanted to vote. The closest polling point to her location was not more than a mile or so away. She could get a ride there and she could vote. They closed the polling place down because they were trying to do, like part of what William was saying, gerrymandering
Gerrymandering.
and voter suppression to close these polling places down. So a lot of people in rural areas and disabled people, they couldn't get there. So unfortunately, this poor lady was telling a story that if it hadn't have been for somebody from her church
Mhm.
taking her to another polling place, she wouldn't have been able to vote because she couldn't get there. She lived by herself. She was 86 years old. Most of her family,
Mhm.
was not around to help her with transportation. And that's the other big part of the voter suppression process, is that they restrict people from being able to
Mhm.
get to places to vote.
That's right. He has, and thank you for laying it out. And Mike, he's 1,000,000%. And I'm gonna tell you, in California, with all its problems and everything like that, a lot of things. If you live in California, what's going on? What's the real picture is that you don't get all of the information. We didn't get. I lived out there for 39 years, and until I started tuning in to the Eastern networks and other networks and things like that, my view on a lot of things were based on the information that I have. We only have to go by what information we have at our disposals.
Right, right.
Okay? And so, no. And it depends on, just like I got something from, what's this guy named Stormy? About something about Kamala Harris, and it was some crazy stuff. Then I looked up his profile. This clown only has about 2,000 followers. I mean, shucks, we got 4 times, 5 times more than that on Facebook. Come on. And so what happens is when this information gets out here and Dr. Demery, people, a lot of people are gullible. They read something and say, oh, this is true. When it's wrong, it's all fabricated. You know, it's propaganda, it's gaslighting, and we've got to get better than that, folks. Like Dr. Demery said, we got to come together. And I'm gonna tell you, my formula for coming together, okay, DEI, great. Because I'm gonna say it again, and I'm gonna say it until I turn, or I can't turn any blacker than this. But anyway,
Hey, William, I can get a tan.
yeah, I know you can. Okay, yeah. Okay. Oh,
You get burnt too.
Yeah, I do burn. I burn badly.
Now I know there's some black people that can get burnt. I have never been sunburned.
Me
I can
either.
lay out in the sun all day long, and most black people, there's some advantages to having dark skin and having melanin
Right.
in your
Yeah.
skin.
Well,
Not
you know
many
what?
in this country, but there's some.
I've never used sunscreen or anything like that, right? And I've
Me
noticed
neither.
because I like hanging outside, right? And I take off my shirt and my arms are darker than my chest. I said, okay, just a little bit. Yeah, I can tell the difference. I don't care. The hell, folks, we got to come together. I'm gonna tell you. Otherwise, rather, this world is doomed.
Yeah.
So, you got to think about a couple of things.
Well, before you do
And
that, can I go ahead and respond to Mike's question, if it's
yes,
okay?
oh, go on, please.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann.
You're welcome. So there are two, I think, articles that kind of give you an idea of what I meant. And I'm not going to read the full article because it's a question answer type
Just
thing, but I
yeah,
am
give
going to
us the
read.
Reader's Digest version.
Right. So this is an NPR article. It's dated October 15th, 2022. And it says, since 2020, Georgia has restored old voting restrictions and added new ones. So this guy named Martin says, so in the 2 years since that election, officials in Georgia have scaled back some election day and early voting infrastructure that you were just telling us about.
Mhm.
What are some of the changes you've tracked for people who still want to vote by mail or drop off their ballots in a drop box? This person named Fowler says, well, there are big changes to virtually every aspect of voting in Georgia. There was a 98-page election law called Senate Bill 202 that was passed. And basically, anything to do with voting changed to some degree after 2020. And the main thing people should know about voting by mail is there's a little bit more requirements to get that ballot. Previously, there were the absentee applications where you had to put your signature, you had to put your name, your birthday, and other things for them to verify. But now voters have to add an ID requirement. Now, voting rights groups and Democrats say that's an extra onerous step for something that should be relatively easy for people to do. The other change is the window in which you can request an absentee ballot. It's much narrower. And you mentioned drop boxes. Drop boxes are a key part of this bill because before there wasn't really a limit on where or how many these counties could put out to help voters. So some counties put 0 drop boxes, others had, several dozen spread out throughout the counties for hundreds of thousands of people. And this law standardizes how many drop boxes counties can put. Every Georgia county, and we have 159 of them, has to have at least 1 drop box, but they can have no more than 1 per 100,000 voters. So what that means is in these metropolitan areas where there are a lot of people of color and people that tend to vote Democrat, they have a cap of no more than usually 5, 6, 7, or 8, as opposed to the 20 or 30 that were there before.
See?
Martin says, so more convenient perhaps for people in rural counties where there may not have been any drop box, but less convenient for people in metropolitan areas where they might have had many more. Fowler, absolutely. And actually, earlier this summer, we did an investigation at Georgia Public Broadcasting, WAB in Atlanta, and NPR, looking at who voted in drop boxes and where and how. And we did find that overwhelmingly, the places that now have fewer drop boxes are the areas that use them the most in 2020. Go figure. And they were also in the areas, like I mentioned, where there's a lot of people that vote Democrat and a lot of people of color and a lot of just densely packed voters. So there is a disproportionate impact on this law, even though technically speaking, there is increased access to drop boxes in some corners of the state. Now, that is 2022, what the changes were. Now let's fast forward to 2024, and NBC News reports that Georgia governor signs election changes into law. The bill signed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp will implement new rules in the battleground state less than 6 months before Election Day. So this one is dated May 7th, 2024, and it's listed by the Associated Press. Governor Brian Kemp signed legislation Tuesday that makes additional changes to Georgia's election laws ahead of the 2024 presidential contest in the battleground state, including defining probable causes for removing voters from the rolls when their eligibility is challenged. Republican activists, fueled by debunked theories of a stolen election, have challenged more than 100,000 voters in the state in recent years. The activists say they are rooting out duplicate records and removing voters who have moved out of state. The bill Kemp signed into law, SB 189, lists death, evidence of voting or registering in another jurisdiction, a tax exemption indicating a primary residence elsewhere, or a non-residential address as probable causes for removing voters from the rolls. Most controversially, it says the national change of address list can be considered, though not exclusively. Supporters have said the probable cause definition would make the challenge process more difficult. Opponents have disputed that, saying the changes would enable more baseless attacks on voters that would overwhelm election administrators and disenfranchise legitimate voters. For example, people sometimes live at a place of business, which would be considered a non-residential address. Officials with Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger's office say there are more reliable types of information, such as driver's license data, to confirm a voter's eligibility. The Georgia bill also allows challenges to be accepted and voters removed from the rolls up until 45 days before an election. That provision in part has prompted the threat of lawsuits from liberal groups because federal law says states and counties can't make systematic changes to voting rolls within 90 days of a federal election. The measure also says homeless people must use the county voter registration office as their address instead of where they live. Opponents have said that could make it harder for homeless citizens to cast ballots because their registered polling place might be far away. Fair Fight Action, a voting rights group founded by former Democratic Georgia gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams, slammed the signing of SB 189, calling the measure a voter suppression bill that emboldens right-wing activists in their efforts to kick Black and brown voters off the rolls. So, I hope that answers your question, Mike, as to
No,
some of the things that are going on in
outstanding.
Georgia.
Outstanding. Because here, and William knows this because we lived within probably, what, 8 miles of each other when you used to live here in California. And I'm
I
in
would say,
Redlands.
yeah, I would say so.
And here in Redlands, I can go to within a 4 mile radius, I can go to at least a dozen polling places, which is why I posed that question.
Wow.
And so thank you for digging that up. I appreciate it.
You're
Wow.
welcome.
That's incredible, Mike. And I'm so glad that you said that because this is the whole idea. And I want to stick on subject right here because I, I I'm baffled. Veterans have been able to vote at the Veterans Association office. Is it Veterans Affairs or whatever it is, Dr. Demery?
Veterans Administration.
Veterans Administration. Doesn't it make a lot of sense right there? Okay, think about this.
You're not going to get an argument.
These people have all of your records. They have all of your records right there. Okay, and like Doctor, I love this story, Dr. Demery, where you can do a lot of things in that one spot without having to go all over town, and especially if you have a disability or something like that. You don't have the energy that you would like to have to go around to 4, 5, 6 other places when it's right there. And doesn't that make a whole lot of sense? So, hey, Mike, jump in here, buddy.
It's 7:00.
Oh, shucks. Okay, I understand. We get ready to get off, and I understand, darling. But I'm still baffled here. I'm gonna give you
You're not
guys.
going to get an argument from anyone on this panel. Voting should be easy. It shouldn't be hard. The one thing I would add to this is that if you're going to vote, you should have to be able to show that you are a U.S. citizen because that is a requirement. They should make it super easy for you to get ID or whatever it takes to show that you are a U.S. citizen so that you can appropriately vote. Because I don't want somebody that's not a U.S. citizen canceling out my vote. So that's the only caveat I would add to this whole voting thing is like make voting easy and make it so that you're verified as an American citizen. Those are the two caveats.
Absolutely. Hey, no problems here, brother. Dr. Dimmer, last word.
One of the things that we talked about in the show that William had, and I'll be as brief as I can, was the fact that in your case, Mike, looking at your situation, you may or may not know, I'm assuming that you may know, that you have a lot of benefits that you can be getting. The fact that your father was a retired colonel in, I don't know if he was in the Army or Air Force or whatever branch he was in, you have a lot of rights that you may not even be getting. And so the point that I'm trying to make, one of the things we discussed on the show that William was able to bring out and the panel was able to bring out is that there are a lot of vets out there that don't even know what their benefits are. And so we've got to get the vets to understand and know what their benefits are, and those who are having problems getting their benefits, help them to move in the right direction to get the benefits that they deserve. I know Mike brought up the situation about his wife or ex-wife, whatever, coming home and being discouraged. Well, I can tell you, Loma Linda VA is still one of the top VA hospitals in the country. I am treated like royalty when I go there. One of the reasons why is because I know the proper channels to go through. When I go there, I have to wait no more than an hour to get my appointment or get things done that I need. And part of that is that the vets don't know where they need to go to get the proper channels to get things done. And that's part of what we try to do. And that's why William had me on the show. And I was trying to give that information. Thank you, William.
Oh, no
Hey,
problem. Hey, Mike.
William, real quick, I got to jump in real quick. I know you're trying to get out of the show, but
No,
Dr.
no. I
Demery,
want you to finish. I want you to finish. But I
well,
have
I'm going to
you gonna have. I promise you, Mike. And if you have to
I don't
exit,
want
I
to end the
understand.
show.
No. Uh, please listen. You'll understand that we're all on the same page here.
We are.
We're all the same. So I understand the conflicting story. What Dr. Demery, what I want you to say, and you can jump right in, is what Dr. Demery was saying. He had the right advocate,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And your advocate, or,
Very important.
the person that points for you, they need to know what they're doing and also to assist you. He has a great advocate, and a lot of veterans don't know that. So, Mike, no, continue, brother.
No, I'm with you on all this. I would say that this panel, and I know that Cece's not here, Dr. Sims is not here tonight, or Danny, but I think actually, if we put our heads together, we probably, on this topic of life, we probably agree 98% of the time
Oh, yeah.
with regard to being fairness and good versus evil and all that. There's no doubt in my mind that all of us agree to a large amount, that we all agree. But I do disagree with some of the politics, and I hate
No,
politicians.
yeah. Me
I dislike
especially.
all of them.
Yeah.
Well, I have to with you, William. Sit down. Get in your big chair and push the buttons.
I'm always
Dr. Demi, William? Can I finish with Dr. Demery? I want Dr. Demery to understand, anytime you need to go to the VA, day or night, I will come get you. I live in Redlands. I'm a very short distance from you. I know that you have like a special vehicle to transport your chair and all. I will drive your vehicle. I'm an EVOC instructor. Dr. Demery knows what that is. That's emergency vehicle operation. That's
very
emergency
sweet.
vehicle. I used to teach driving to the department. So I'm qualified to drive you. I will come get you anytime, day or night. You have my information. I think you have my phone number. I will get you. You don't have to use. I know your transportation's free. So am I. And I will sit with you, and we can chit chat, and we can talk about life and anything else. I would be honored if you ever need somebody to do that for you. I know you have tons of support from your church and the people around you.
And his wife.
Just so
But
you
I
know,
live a long ways away from you, brother. I'm almost 40 minutes away from where you live.
Wow.
Well, the way
to come.
Dr. Demery, the way I drive, you're 25 minutes away.
And
No,
that is the former Popo alerting the Popo to watch out for him.
I'm a lot further than that. I'm way out in Mead Valley. Off of
Dr. Demery.
It's still not a problem. I'll come get you wherever you are.
Hey, Dr. Demery, this is a rare moment here. I'm going to be on Mike's side. Why are you being stubborn?
Oh, wow.
No. This brother is reaching out to you, and you making excuses. What's wrong? What's going on here?
He would Dr. Demery would do the same for me. If he
he
would do the same damn thing for me.
I would, but I'm just a long ways away.
Anybody ask you how long?
You're not that far
away.
Hey,
I'm a long ways away, brother.
I think he just explained that.
It takes me 45 minutes to get to my church.
Dr. Demery.
I'm going to interrupt. I understand how I understand.
He's independent. I understand.
Not saying that he doesn't want Mike's help. It's just, you all may be familiar with the Bible verse that says is more blessed to give than to receive. When it's your turn to be on the receiving end, it can be very difficult. It's easy for us to give, like Mike is in a position to give, but it's so hard to be the one that has to receive, especially when you consider how much gas costs in California. And Mike is going to spend a whole lot of gas getting a Reverend Demery.
Not a problem.
He didn't want it. It's nothing like that. It's just so much harder to be on the receiving end of that kind of kindness. But I thank you for offering it, Mike, and Lord willing, when push comes to shove, you and Reverend Demery will go ahead.
You work it out. You work
it happen.
Absolutely. At least Reverend Dr. Demery knows that he has that resource at his availability.
And y'all have a blessed night, because I'm gonna have to leave.
I understand that. And so let me just share this. And Mike didn't say anything about distance, gas, or anything like that.
And
And
that's
we're
not the point. The point is it's harder to be on the receiving end. I'm
Right?
just saying it's not that
Yeah.
it's not that he is not grateful. It's not that he doesn't want Mike to help him. It's just harder. And I know that as somebody who was sick for a long time and I had to be on the receiving end of my husband's kindness and even my kids'
Ooh,
kindness and other people taking care of me. It was hard. I would cry
Amen.
because they helped me so much.
right.
So he's not
I could,
he is grateful. He is grateful, but he is it's a harder position to be in.
you
And
know
that's
what?
one of the reasons why it's more blessed to
Amen.
give than it
Amen.
is to
Amen.
receive because you are in a position that you can give.
Yep.
And
It,
and being on a
wow.
position where you have to receive it, it's humbling.
Mm,
It attacks your pride. It's a lot that goes into it.
right.
That's
Right.
all that
Right.
is. So don't take it
sometimes
personally.
No, it's not
sometimes
personal.
sometimes all of us need a little helping hand. It's not a hand
Yes.
out as much as a helping hand up.
Right.
And that's okay because I've had to do that in my life and I have really good people around me. And sometimes I've had to say, hey, can you give me a helping hand here? And I've had
Exactly.
people
Look.
just jump in to do it. So there's no shame in that. And the offer still stands.
Yep. Absolutely. I would leave it standing too. And hey, Mike, thank you so much, man. Because who you are, what you stand for. Uh, but you know, I always beat you up anyway, so that's no issue there. Okay. But your wisdom and your point of view, um, guys, please know. I know we've gone over, and I know we've gone over. Okay, I checked with the CEO. He said it was okay. I'm going to end this in a couple of minutes or
What's he
so.
know?
Okay, yeah, okay, yeah. Don't be quiet, Mike. So anyway, um, we want your perspective. I don't want this to be a Fox or a CBS or NB. What is it? NSC?
MSNBC.
Yeah, or any of those cats, man. I want you to spray. If you feel a certain way, like when somebody's your friend, they'll tell you what they're
I
feeling.
am.
Okay, okay, and I understand. If you yeah, a friend will tell you the truth. Dr. Dimmer, you know what I'm saying, and Mike, you already know too. If you don't like something, say it. I need to hear that. Okay, I don't want to go on any false premises or anything like that. No, 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 no. I always strive to get better. So, Mike, bring it. I told you, get ready. Bring out the boxing gloves. And this has been one of our greatest shows. But we have to talk about this continuously and maybe some other form or something like that because this election during the week, things are going to come out one way or the other. And we can agree or disagree. Dr. Dimmer, you get the last word.
Bring us together.
Well, I would say I hope that all of us will continue, like Mike said, and like you were saying, William, in your remarks there. Let us continue to respect one another, continue to agree and disagree, but with respect and honor, and everyone's opinion is valued. Amen.
Amen,
Amen.
amen, amen. And I love all three of you guys. And Ann, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate that. Mike, tell Dr. Sims that I think she's chicken out. Okay.
You tell her. I'm not
I-
telling Dr. Sims
well, I
nothing.
already did. I told her that she was running scared. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
that's the wrong thing to say, William.
Wrong for who, Mike?
You're gonna reap the benefits of what you just said, and it's not gonna be pretty.
I'm not looking for pretty. Mike, I gotta go, bro. Man, oh man, you already kept me over 12 minutes here. I've got to get ready for this next
Oh,
show.
it's my fault. Okay.
It sure is. I gotta blame it on somebody. And so guess what? Check this out. Jazz is off tonight. So Wild Will, I'm gonna take on my moniker of Wild Will, and we're gonna rock this thing tonight. I'll tell you. That is Sunday Night Gold. WB and the Jazzy Diva. She's out on assignment. So guess what? When the cats will play, away the mouse will
When the
play.
cat's away, the mouse will play.
Guess what? I'm gonna play tonight. So you guys enjoy this. Hey, thank you so much. And you enjoyed the Boomerang Radio Show. Mad Mike, Dr. Demery, love you cats, man. Thank you so much for this. All right? Enjoy yourself.
Good night,
All
all.
right. Good night. Good night. But hey,